Hello, hello, Jeff Hellman here with Ballen Brands, and today I'm going to show you how to create a public form, meaning a form you would maybe provide a link to in order to collect information from your contacts in Keap Max Classic. All right, so right now I have a sandbox pulled up, which is just an account that we use to demo different things, and all of the forms, whether it's an internal form or a public form, are held in the campaign section. So I'm going to actually click on the navigation here, go under marketing and campaign builder. And I'm going to just go ahead and create a kind of a general campaign. We'll just call it forms as an example. So what I'm going to do here is this would be, if I'm going to have multiple forms, I might just have them all housed right in here. This is just something that, I like to do to kind of keep things organized. So you'll look over here, we have different goals. Web form, submitted, right, purchase, all that, internal form, submitted. Well, in this case, we're doing the web form. It's considered a web form if it's a public one. So I'm going to drag over web form. And when I double click on web form, now I can set up the configuration for this particular feature. So the page is going to load here. And now I can create the different layout options. So there's lots of different things I can do here as far as the formats. I can add different fields. If I wanted to collect address on here, for example, I can drag that down here. We'll do email, then we'll do address. So by default, it pulls up, the names. Maybe I just wanted to say something simple. Oops, click the right things here. And then whether I want that field on or off, for example. So we're just going to get rid of billing. We're not going to call it billing. We'll just consider it their address. And then do I want to require it or not? Okay, so that's an option that we can do too. So you'll see now you have a little address box. We have first name, email. Well, let's do last name as well. I can drag that over. We'll say not first name. We're going to choose last name. We'll make it required and hit save. And maybe we do phone number. All right, we'll do it under email. So we'll do phone. Again, we'll just call it phone. Save. We won't make that one required. So you see the little asterisk doesn't show up. And so now we have just kind of our basic information. There's other things we can do. We can make checkboxes, radio buttons. We can pull in other custom fields. If I wanted to do, like if I chose other, you'll see when I drag that up, then I have the option to choose from all of the custom fields that we have set up. So let's just say we're going to call this one original source, right? Just as an example, we'll call it source, which maybe this is really how'd you hear about us? Okay, let's make that one required. We're going to hit save. So what that'll do is that'll actually filter in directly into this record. So if someone fills this information out, it inserts all that information into our Keap Max Classic database, and then it'll fill out those particular fields. So we call it lead source in ours, but we can tell to them how'd you hear about us. So that way it feeds right in to the lead source field. Okay, so those are just some quick options. You'll see a lot of other things you can do here. You got some snippets. I can decorate it up a little bit more by adding my image at the top, giving it a title, some descriptive around it. So I do have some options there, somewhat limited, but definitely some options. If you want to be more sophisticated and get more design layouts and templates and things like that, we would actually do that as a landing page instead of a web form. Both kind of have a similar function as far as like what happens after they submit, but the two different interfaces are very different. This one's, again, a little more rough and quick and to the point, whereas the landing pages are more, but we'll have a separate video for landing pages if you want to check that one out. So then we have some other options here. We have a thank you page. So this is where I can set up additional configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and click on thank you, and this basically what's it going to say, right? So by default, it just has this thanks, Jeff in this case, we will contact you shortly. Well, maybe I want to, okay, I'm going to center that. I got all this extra space at the top that I don't really need. We're going to say, thanks so-and-so. We look forward to connecting with you. Type that in, right? Forward to connecting with you, right? So like these are just little things we can do to kind of spruce that up, all right? Same thing here. I can insert different things, snippets, all that stuff. It's all part of the options. Or I can actually have it submit to a completely different web address. Maybe I have a website, like a WordPress website, and I already have a page, like a thank you page or submission page or something where they're going to download something. I could just do that also. So it's completely up to you on what options you want there. Then when I go to settings, it allows us to auto-populate this form with the contact information when visited from a Keap delivered email. So this is a really cool feature because what this allows us to do is actually use this public form to, let's say I want to get more information from contacts that are already in my database. Maybe I never collected addresses and now I want to, or I didn't collect birthdays and now I want to. So this actually gives me the option that if I'm sending it to them from Keap in one of the campaigns and they're guided to this form, do I want to auto-populate the form with fields that already exist? So for example, we might say, hey, so-and-so, this is the information we currently have. Is it still accurate? If not, please change it, right? So we can actually show them what we have and they can change it right there in the box and hit submit, and that'll update our database. Really cool feature, very useful for us, of course, when we're trying to keep our database clean. So I love that one. Then they have the option to not use Google reCAPTCHA for spam bots. We do recommend you use Google reCAPTCHA and leave that open. Duplicate checking, we're just going to check the email address is how we do it mostly. If you do have a database that has like maybe a husband and a wife that both use the same email address, then you might want to do first or last name and their email address so that it kind of knows and distinguishes between the two. But in our world, we try to have separate email addresses for each person. And then we can also send a notification email. So we can actually have this notify a team member, ourselves, anything like that when the form is filled out. So that's a really cool feature too, because now we know when people are using the actual form. So great feature here that we can use in Keap Max Classic. And then lastly, I have this code option. So where do I actually want this form to show up? I can use this little JavaScript snippet so I can copy and paste it on my own web page. I can grab an HTML code that would allow me to pull that all in, again, for my own web page. Or I could do HTML code unstyled, which basically means it doesn't have any additional coding or anything around it because I'm going to customize it myself if I'm more advanced in doing so. There's this option to have your webmaster do it. So if that's not you and you're working with someone like us, you can actually send the message to the webmaster right here from the screen so that your web guy knows how to add that to your page. Or you can use what's called a hosted version. So there's a web form URL. You can actually make a pretty URL. I can change this. So instead of web form submitted, I can call this one personal interest form, for example. Okay, and I can save that. And now this in particular would be how I can get to that. So I can just simply email this link out to my database, or I can use it on my website, link to it from a button, and we can just do that. Now I didn't save any of my changes yet, so of course you're still only seeing the first name and email. But in this case, those are all options for us to use. So let's go ahead and go back to design. We're going to save the changes that we made here. Mark that as available. So that should all save now. And then we'll go back. And then we just would need to publish this particular form for it to be accessible. Now, here's where the magic lies in Keap Max Classic, is that when this form is submitted, we can now do a series of things. So for example, I can pull over a sequence and I can tag them as someone who has filled out that form so that I don't send it to them again, right? Maybe I want a 3-part sequence that messages them and kind of pursues them. So I can do that to kind of stop, tag them so I know that happened. I can actually wait a day or 5 minutes or anything like that if I want to, instead of doing a tag, and I can send an email thanking them for filling out that additional information. Really cool feature, nice way to kind of keep in touch and build that rapport. I can do other things, like I can have it then launch another campaign. Because they did that, now I can put them on my mailer campaign because I know I have their existing information. A lot of really cool features, and the idea of this one, again, is to make it publicly available. The idea of this particular form is so that someone else on the outside, not someone logged into your system, can fill this information out and it'll automatically insert or update into your Keap database. So really valuable thing. Really the only difference between internal form and public form. The internal form shows up in Keap, for me to select from different options. The public form is something that I have a URL to. I can distribute that, send that out, use it in my campaigns, and then build certain follow-up sequences. So if you have any questions on any of that, by all means, you can reach out to us at team@ballenbrands.com.